Ladies and gentlemen, it's that time again. It's time for the J. Craig Podcast. Playing on headphones near you.
Jason Craig. What the hell is going on, man?
Oh man, God, what isn't going on, man? I just been thinking about movies and life, and then more movies on top of that. And then
Are you thinking about movies?
No, yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
Well, then it sounds like we might have another topic or an instance to have another Jay and Craig
Podcast.
Right on.
What should we talk about?
I think what we should talk about is an encapsulation of what we're always talking about is exactly, we talk about movies and ones we love and ones we're disappointed by and the process, but we never really talked about why we love movies so much and why is it such an important part of both our lives.
Wow.
Why?
That's a great topic. Why we love movies.
Absolutely.
So first, I'm going to say most people, not necessarily us, are going to say escapism. It takes them away, gets them out of that. Mm-hmm. God, what a good question. Okay, so it's the escapism thing for a lot of people. I think they just want to be out of their environment. They want to be enjoying something different, right?
Well, a lot of it is, it's that. I totally agree with that. And it's I forget whose quote this is. I'm not making this up. I can't quote the person right now.
Sure you are.
Movies are moving pictures.
Yeah.
And they should move you in an emotional way. It's probably Robert McGee who said that. But anyway, but the emotional connection you can get from the greatest films.
Yeah.
That's why, 10 years, 20 years, 30 years on, there's movies that live and people still watch and they still go back to, and they're comfort food.
One thing I don't get from people, and it's not all the time, but once in a while you hear somebody that says, "Well, I never watch a movie more than once." Why would you watch a movie more than once? And that
I stay away from people like that.
That blows my mind.
Now, anyone who doesn't know me knows that I date quite a bit. I've got a pretty long history with women.
Don't say.
And I know it's a shock.
Tell us more about that.
I know it's a shock. But a big indicator of if I can spend 3 to 4 month max with these girls is if they like movies or not. And women who don't watch movies, people who don't watch movies, I'm not trying to be single anyone out. If people who don't like movies, I can't find a lot of common ground with those people.
But people
who love movies,
right?
There's an immediate communal connection with people like that. That how many friends do you have who love movies?
Oh, I got quite a few.
How many friends do you have who don't love movies? Friends.
Not very many.
Real friends.
None.
Yeah.
That don't like movies.
Yeah.
A lot of friends who don't like the movies I like. That's fine. Taste.
Right.
But you're right. Not many friends that do not like movies.
So when did you realize that you loved movies? Like you had established that connection with film?
God, that's a great question. I'm going to say, I can't give you like a year, but I'm going to say it was when VHS came out.
Okay.
When beta VHS, when that came out, when I got to watch a movie like more than once at home, like renting it from Highland Appliance over on 14 Mile by Oklahoma, right? Highland Appliance. When I used to rent movies from them and we watched First Blood or The Road Warrior or Tron, I would watch them and then all of a sudden I realized, more than so like that first 4 or 5 years of watching one time screening, but it was that like being able to revisit that. And that's when I realized what movies could do, is they would make you keep reliving those moments, keep reliving those situations where I wanted to reenact those moments. And that's for me where movies like became one with me. Is where I wanted to be Mad Max with a sawed-off shotgun. I wanted to be Dutch running out of the forest, running away from the predator. I wanted to be those characters, Indiana Jones or Han Solo, whatever the case may be. even to the like point of like TV shows like The Fall Guy and like Starsky and Hutch. When I got to that point where I wanted to emulate them, is when I realized what movies did for me.
Right on, man. Very cool. I can say for me, it's a very easy answer. It was Jaws.
Oh, really?
I saw Jaws when I was 4.
Okay.
And didn't remember a lot of it because I had to be in the lobby a lot of the time because I was terrified.
No shit.
I was purely convinced at 4 years old that we were sitting in front of a giant aquarium, and at any time the shark could flop over into the front seats.
Right.
I was purely
awesome.
convinced.
You were
but,
fucking terrified.
But what I started to put together, and I owe this totally to Steven Spielberg, is my mother bought me the 8-track of the Jaws soundtrack.
The 8
folks,
track. Did you just hear that? If anyone doesn't know what the 8-track means, it's an audio listening device.
Oh my gosh, you gotta explain this fucking thing. Yeah, it's a giant cartridge that used to plug into the front of the stereo system,
like a Nintendo cartridge,
and would play your album or your comedy or soundtrack off of actual tape. And I wore that thing out, and I went to see Jaws a second time when it was re-released.
Okay.
When they'd re-release films, they weren't always, available. And I would sit and listen to the 8-track tape, and at this time I'm probably like, I don't know, like 7, 8, 9. And I started to marry, because Spielberg's so good at this, I would start to marry the music cues to the images back on what I'd seen. And I could tell, and I can, to this day, if you put the Jaws soundtrack on, I can tell you exactly what's happening on the screen without looking at it. I can tell you exactly.
I can do that for
But I could do it then, when I was a very young age. And I started to fall in love with the marriage of music and the image and what the character was going through at that moment. And to this day, that's what excites me. Is when those things come together in a movie. Which is not often anymore.
It's not often.
But when those things come together in a movie, I get a little choked up.
That's awesome.
And the last time that happened this year was in Fury Road. There's a moment in Fury Road where it's in the very last chase scene, and everything's gone to shit, and he's good news, bad news, and this and that. And they've got control back of the truck, and they're moving into the main canyon. And the Doof Warrior truck pulls up, and they transition the soundtrack to the Doof Warrior soundtrack and bring it all in, and he cuts to a master of all of them coming together, and it's the everything comes together perfectly at that one point. And I kid you not, I would have stood up in the theater and cheered if it wouldn't disturbed the whole thing.
So
I love things like that.
You just love the art of it.
I love the art of cinema.
That's awesome.
I love the art of
cinema. And you knew this early on, obviously.
Oh, yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, like
that's awesome.
I love the art. Like there's scenes that I fall in love with music cues.
See, I can't. Okay, so obviously those are like kind of ingrained. Like there's moments like in Jaws or Close Encounters or Raider. Oh my God, that's all Spielberg movies. But there's a lot of other movies that have those moments where that. For me, it was. I think just the emotional like remembrance of like what it made me feel like.
Yeah, right.
Like I don't think I ever really realized the music cues until I was a little older. There's a lot of things I know everyone catches differently than I do, and everyone's got different ways they remember things. And for me, it was it was just what it made you feel like when you're watching something, at a young age. And remember, I went to see very few movies with my father. Maybe I can remember like 5 or 6 that we would go see the theater with, and he'd get us candy out and we'd go see movies, and that kind of started it, where that theater experience. The Abbey 8. Remember the Abbey 8 over?
Oh, of course,
Where the AMC Star is now, right?
Yep.
The Abbey 8.
I
saw Flash Gordon.
Flash Gordon. Me and my dad saw Flash Gordon. Me and my dad and my sister saw Flash Gordon.
Nice. And
it's interesting you bring up the topic of your father, because movie going with my father became a very big ritual thing with us.
Nice.
We would always go, but we started to go more when my parents got divorced. And so I got into that thing.
Yeah.
You get into that, fall into that trap where you see your dad once a week.
Right.
And we'd always go to the cinema.
It's a perfect excuse.
And it was in the big action 80 movies craze, and I always remember, like, I would always I'd like a movie, but I didn't want to say anything yet when the movie was over, and I'd look to my dad, And if my dad said, he'd always be leaning to one side, like towards me, like this, looking at the screen. Because my dad looks like Charles Bronson, and my father looks just like Charles Bronson. When he took a business trip to Japan in the late '70s, and he came back, and so what was the best part of your trip? And he said he was always signing autographs. People thought he was Charles Bronson, and so my dad would be sitting there all serious when the credits came up, and he'd look over at me, and if it was good, he'd say, "That was really good." And that meant that movie had connected with him on a big level. And I can think of a handful of times he actually said that. One was Predator.
Ooh.
Heat.
Okay.
Big one.
Yeah.
We actually went to see, Predator was the first time he picked me up. I actually blazed through a history exam in my finals in high school. He picked me up early. We went to see Predator. And then the next week, instead of seeing something new, we saw Predator again.
See, now that's gonna be me and Levi.
Yeah.
Now my dad never would have taken me out of school.
Oh.
Never would have we saw some Star Trek movies, Quest for Fire, several movies in at Oakland and at Abbey. But I will be taking Levi. I will make sure, even Jesse if he's in the movies at that point. But I know Levi will be. I will be taking them out to go to see certain things.
And you know what's cool about how my dad sees movies? My dad grew up on Dr. No,
right?
And stuff like that. Yeah. He saw the guys pulling the guy in a wire and a crane to make him fly,
right?
And so now when he sees movies, he's seen the progression from when they first started to toy around with physical effects to what they can do now,
right? And
sometimes he's just amazed by what they can do,
right?
We went and saw Terminator Genesis this past summer.
So that's one, right?
Which is not a great movie.
I don't think I've seen it.
But it's entertaining enough. And he was just kind of my father was just happy to be it was kind of cool to see. I could tell he didn't like it that much. And my father was a guy who, and this is something I learned late in my writing game, is the movie has to grab his attention fast and keep it. Because if it moves slow, he's done.
Right. And,
he's done.
That comes to what makes a movie great? But I think a lot of people look at it as just the entertainment value, getting away for that hour and a half, 2 hours, 2.5 hours. But I know people like you and myself, we look at movies a little differently. We want to see certain things because as writers, as filmmakers, we want to see certain things happen.
Well, and what are those? There's a reason people can go back and watch Officer and a Gentleman again from 30 years ago. There's a reason they re-released Jaws. There's a reason that 2001 is still the benchmark in science fiction film. There's a reason why Rear Window is still looked at as a template. I mean, there's a reason those films endure.
Right.
30 years from now, I don't care how much money the damn thing made. 30 years from now, no one's going to cite Jurassic World as craft. It's
guaranteed.
It is what it is.
Yeah.
But there's a reason you can go back and look at Witness. And be and study the structure.
Yeah.
I mean, 13 Assassins, which you love,
13
is a remake of an older film.
7 Samurai.
Actually, no, 13 Assassins.
There's
another 13 Assassins.
Really?
It's black. You didn't know that?
No.
Oh, you got to watch it. Oh, you got to watch that one.
Interesting.
It's a remake of 13 Assassins.
How come I didn't?
It's a much different.
Wait a minute. I think I knew that.
You probably did.
I think I knew that.
You probably did.
I think I've smoked too much pot in my days.
That's
I forget
okay.
things.
You probably know that.
Yeah, I think I knew that. I think I knew that.
But why can you go back and watch Psycho, which I wasn't alive when it came out, so I'm not citing something from my youth.
Right.
But I can't go back and watch. I don't know. Why Did I Get Married or whatever the hell was out a couple years ago, or. I'm just making up shit. But,
okay, so how about people who they can't get beyond what their normal life is like, right? So they see a movie that's like Psycho or Rear Window or Casablanca.
Oh,
different time frame, different set of acting, different everything, right? And they can't watch it because it's not like what I'm used to seeing in front of my face.
And you know what's sad is because movies can be so transcendent because movies can represent to you what life can be. The majority of people in the world live a life that's somewhat stepped back from what they really want. It's just how nature is. If everybody got what they wanted, the world would be a much different place.
Right.
Not everybody's got what they want. But in the movies, you can get what you want. There's a reason why you watch a movie where the man or woman starts out in a bad place and achieves something high. It gives you that shred of hope and humanity that I can do that too. Life is not so bad.
Right.
I can achieve that. Life can be good. I can find love. I can succeed after the death of a family. I can do well for my children. I could help somebody out in life and be good. I can
be strong.
I can't. Yeah, greatness does exist. Yeah. Hope does exist. All those things exist in movies.
Right.
And you can lose yourself in it for 2 hours and be like, life is good.
Right.
Like,
and that's part of the that's part of the escapism part of it.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's got to hit you right.
Absolutely.
It's got to it can't be just like, I don't want to be mind numbed. Oh, it's like just 2 hours. It's fine.
I don't want to get beat into submission.
You're like Transformers, it's fine.
Yeah, I don't want to be beat into submission.
I want to watch something that makes me feel something, makes me believe I can do that, or makes me just, how about this, care for a character's well-being.
Who doesn't love Rocky?
Who doesn't want to see him succeed at the end of that movie?
I mean, Rocky. They paint that picture so well. They make Philadelphia look so freaking lonely. There's no one in the street. This poor schmuck is, going from place to place and just and he gets a chance. He gets the chance and he doesn't screw it up. Mm-hmm. Because in life, and I'm guilty of this too, you're presented an opportunity and you fuck it up.
Right.
But Rocky is the example of being presented the opportunity and seizing control of it and achieving what you didn't know you were possible of.
Do you think that's a little ironic for the 70s, though?
It fits in the 70s very well.
70s.
That was a rough period.
The way the ending should have been for that movie should have been he fails completely on his face, but still has some kind of a triumph.
That's why it's different.
That's
why it's different.
That's the 70s, right?
He loses. He does lose, but he wins.
Right.
He goes. That's what's great about Rocky is he goes the distance. He doesn't win the fight.
He doesn't win.
He doesn't win the fight.
That's
it. He goes the distance.
There's a 70s aspect.
He proves that to himself.
Yeah.
Like in Creed, he doesn't win the fight in Creed, does he?
No.
He loses the decision.
He loses it, yeah, just like
which is not a big shot because Rocky did it.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
And as you're watching Creed, you realize you're watching.
Yeah, you're watching Rocky.
As Tina calls it, Black Rocky,
which is fine. And but yeah, he proves to himself that he can do it.
Right. Which
is more important than, and it's a good message. It's more important to achieve for yourself than to get the outward goal.
Right.
Like he proves to himself he can do it. He proves to Adrian he can do it. He didn't quit. He didn't give up. He did what he set out to do.
Prove to himself.
Absolutely. He proved to himself he could be that person.
Right.
He wasn't a loser. I'm not a loser. I'm not trash. I can be good things. I can compete with these good things. Officer and a Gentleman. Officer and a Gentleman. I don't know why I just thought of this because it's not something I watch a lot.
Although it's the second time you brought it up in two different podcasts.
It is. You're right. And there's a moment. Actually, it's probably the midpoint if we nailed it down, where Louis Gossett Jr. has called Richard Gere out. He's caught him with his, because he's like selling stuff and bootlegging and whatnot. And he's, I'm gonna get your paperwork and you'll be gone out of here on Monday. And he's Richard Gere's always been the smart ass, and he's been like aloof, and I don't need this shit, and I don't need that, and I don't need this girl. She's just a one-time thing. Deborah Winger. And Louis Gossett Jr. breaks him down, and he's like, you'll be out of here by Monday. And Gere his character finally snaps, and he's like, don't do it. You can't do that to me. I have nowhere else to go. I have nowhere else to go, and I have nothing.
That's the midpoint.
Exactly the midpoint.
It has to be.
It's got to be the midpoint. But it's that moment where he exposes himself to Gossett Jr. And Gossett Jr. sees like, this is a guy who's, whether it be abuse or a bad upbringing or whatever it is, this guy's totally lost in life. And this is the only thing he's got to kind of prove to himself that he can make it. And at the end of the movie, he does.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's a great message.
It's a great message, and it stuck with you, and it resonates. Yeah. And that's the thing I think with movies is, whether you dislike certain movies or like certain movies, it's the resonation. It's what they make you feel while you're watching them, whether you believe in it. Obviously, if you don't care about the characters, who fucking cares about the rest of the movie, right?
And it's so cathartic. Like, I would love to think that I could be on the mast of a sinking ship with my chamber action rifle and face down a great white shark like Brody does.
Right.
Like, I would love to think that I could do that.
As you're just about, your ass is about to hit the water.
Absolutely.
He's coming at you.
Absolutely.
Right.
Like, because the whole movie he's terrified of water.
As Indiana Jones is climbing over a truck trying to get to that last driver to kick him out of there.
There's so many movies where you want to think you could do that. Like with your Rocky in the 14th round.
Right.
You want to think that in that situation, I would push myself that hard.
At the hour and a half mark, if you don't feel that way, someone's doing their job wrong. You have to feel that. That's why I think I dislike so many movies, because I don't get that type of resonation in the movie anymore.
Yeah.
I don't feel that way.
Well, we don't get a lot of good characters anymore.
You don't get a lot of good... But those that you do, you remember, you like, and then you like those actors, and you want to see more of them doing that. But it's just... It's you... Man, feeling a certain way, man.
People, at their base core, I think that people want to do the right thing. It's much easier in life. Let's be totally honest here. It's life, but life is movies and movies are life. So it's much easier in life to do the wrong thing. It's easier to lie. It's easier to steal. It's easier to be, criminals are taking the easy way out. Mm-hmm. It's much harder in life to do the right thing.
Right.
To go to work.
To have morals.
To have morals. To tell the truth, to stay the right course.
Be strong.
And movies reinforce that belief that you can do the right thing and be rewarded for it.
Right.
Because a lot of times in life, people are like, "Well, I'm a nice guy, or I'm a nice girl, and I try to do the right thing, and why am I alone, or why don't I have this?" And movies reinforce the fact that if you do the right things, you'll be rewarded for it.
And why do we like villains so much?
Because it's that way that you can go off the path of good. You can go off and do the bad things. You can be the horrible person and murder and pillage and rape or steal and do whatever it is and kind of be rewarded for it. Because who doesn't want... How many times in life have you been like, fuck this. Like, why don't I just drive on the curb of the road? Why don't I go through the door without using the doorknob? Why don't I just... The person drop their purse. Why don't I just take it and take the money out of it? Like, who doesn't have those impulses? People who don't say that are lying.
So if villains, a good villain always gets the cream of the crop, right?
Oh,
when you hear when a movie's good, when the villain's good, you always talk about that, right?
Right.
Can there be that villain without the right hero?
A movie about a villain is just a villain.
Right.
He's the hero.
Can I give you one example of that? That's kind of like breaks itself up?
Please do.
There Will Be Blood. There is no hero.
No, there's none.
He is the villain and the hero at the same
time.
Right? So that's a strange one for there, but
to me that movie is a great movie, and it's more of a character study.
Oh yeah, for sure.
It's more of a character study.
Wow, what an amazing movie!
A brilliant character study.
Very, very brilliant. But like you talk about villains, and I think of the Joker.
Yes.
From The Dark Knight, right? And without the Joker, if you didn't believe in Bruce Wayne, who regardless if it's Christian Bale or Michael Keaton, it's Bruce Wayne, it's Batman. Without that, you have no Joker.
And you've tried, and what he's done in that moment, Chris Nolan, is he's created a hero with a huge moral conundrum. Yeah. And he's committed himself to a path. And then you bring in, and the Joker even says this at one point, the immovable object, but you bring in a villain who is counter to all of those things. Yeah. And it's perfect. Yeah. It's absolutely perfect. Because the Joker could give a shit.
It's amazing.
Like he has no... I love that the Joker has no backstory. He doesn't explain anything. You don't need to know where he comes from. Right. He doesn't have an overall master plan. He just is.
Right.
And I love where the movie finds him standing on that street corner, waiting to get in the truck. He's just there.
Right.
We don't need to know where he came from. He's just there.
It's awesome.
It's kind of like in Star Wars, Vader just strolls onto a ship out of nowhere, and he's just there.
Yeah.
We don't need to, like in Star Wars, you don't need to know who Anakin Skywalker is, or where his mom came from or anything. He's just there. He is just a bad guy.
Right.
And how many times in life have you just come across, you've been in line at the bank, or you go to a job interview, or you're at a football game, and there's just someone there who's just a bad person. You don't need to know where they came from or what his history is. You're not sitting there like...
You don't want to know.
You're not sitting there like, well, the guy probably had a bad upbringing, and maybe that's why he's lashing out right now.
Because normally they're snippets of time.
Yeah, exactly.
Normally you don't have... Okay, some people do have long lengths of periods of knowing somebody like that.
Wow, it's terrible,
People who know that person.
They live with them.
But people who experience that for that hour, 5 minutes, or whatever it is... Yeah, it's ingrained in your head, right?
Yeah,
and it kind of gets into you. Like, what the fuck is wrong with that guy? Why is he like that?
Right.
And with movies, the villain, the hero, it has everything. Everything has to move at the same time. You can't just like a part of a movie. You either like the movie or you don't. I mean, can you agree? I mean, is there a movie where you can say like, "Well, I like the character, but I don't like the movie"?
Exactly. I mean, yeah, totally. I mean, who are your, like, give me, like, your top, I know you can't do, I mean, top 5s are hard off the top of your head, but give me 5 really good villains.
5 really good villains?
Yes.
It's a great question.
Uh-huh.
Renee Belloc.
Good one.
I like him.
Uh-huh.
Agent Smith.
Excellent villain.
Okay. Obviously, Jaws. He's a villain.
Right, he's a villain.
He's a villain, whether it's nature or animal or whatever. He is a villain.
Right.
There Will Be Blood. Obviously, he's it's a good example of a hero and a villain at the same time.
Uh-huh.
And then just recently, I'll say Tom Hardy from Revenant.
Okay, now what do those villains have in common? What are they trying to do? They're trying to, in most cases, they're trying to take something away from the hero.
Right.
And in life, what are you people trying to hold? You're trying to hold on to all your stuff.
Right.
Your love and your friends and your family, and usually people are trying to take something away from you, whether it be your pride,
your freedom,
or your dignity, or whatever it might be.
Right.
Like for me, Clarence Boddicker, RoboCop.
Oh, good villain.
Fucking great villain.
Very good villain.
Fucking great villain.
Clarence Boddicker.
Clarence fucking Boddicker, man.
Oh, he's a good villain.
Like that dude. Yeah. Agent Smith is one of mine.
Sergeant Barnes is a
great villain.
Platoon.
Yep. Because all he wants to do is destroy.
Yeah.
That's all he wants to do.
And survive at the same time.
He's all about self-survival.
Yeah.
In the end, it's like he thinks he's doing the right thing.
Yeah.
Which is another good facet of a villain. Is
right.
Like, people are not inherently evil.
That's another topic, man.
Yeah. People are not inherently evil.
A good villain, whether it's real or fake, whether it's fiction or non-fiction villain.
Yeah.
Adolf Hitler to Clarence Boddicker.
Right.
They believe they are doing what's right.
Just absolutely.
For them. Right? And then it's that what's the fine line between, is the Emperor really evil or are the Stormtroopers really bad? It's like they're just doing what they're told. They believe that they're doing this for the good.
Well, they see the Rebel Alliance as evil.
Right.
If you told the story from their point of view, you'd have this upstart group messing everything up and blowing up their new star station.
Okay, so Morton Joe has his whole world made, right?
Yeah.
He's created everything.
Yeah, right.
It's everything. His everything.
He's giving what he can to the people.
Everything.
Yeah.
And then this chick comes along.
Right.
And decides, I'm going to turn on you. And this fucking donor guy, like, those are the villains.
Absolutely.
In his story.
It's just point of view.
The heroes are the villains.
Like, everything is
in the villain story.
Everything is just point of view.
Yeah.
I mean, look at, what's that Julia Roberts movie, My Best Friend's Wedding?
Oh.
She's trying to break up someone's wedding.
She's a fucking villain.
She's the villain.
Yeah.
You know, at the end, thankfully, she doesn't get what she wants.
Totally, yeah.
But she's the villain.
She is totally the villain.
Yeah. Absolutely. It's terrible.
It is terrible. But that's the
point of view.
Yeah, man.
Wedding crashers. I hate wedding crashers.
I hated how he did it at the end there.
Because he's... Okay, who sees... Why is it okay? And I don't know if this is some, like, female fantasy thing or what. I don't get it. And maybe I do, maybe I don't. But, okay, I see a girl who's engaged. I don't know if they got a good relationship or not. I don't know if he's the right guy for her. But they're engaged and I leave it alone.
Right.
Okay, if in real life, I met a girl who was engaged and went after her anyway, I'd be a creep. But in a movie, it's okay.
Right. Exactly. And now you're the hero.
Now I'm the hero for saving her from
Wedding Crashers.
This poor guy. Yeah.
Wedding Crashers.
Yes.
Is another example of that where not Bradley Cooper's character.
Owen Wilson?
Owen Wilson's character. Was it Owen or Luke?
It's Owen.
Owen.
Yeah, Owen Wilson.
Owen, like the end of that movie, I was so like disgusted with the movie because
it was terrible.
He's breaking up the wedding.
Yeah, exactly.
The actual physical ceremony.
Like, who the hell do you think you are?
You're gonna sit there and talk and to the other person, and it's not about the bride and the groom. They're like they're just background.
Yeah, right.
And they should be the frontal of your best friend's wedding.
Right.
And you're breaking it up, and then you get in a fight with the. I
hate how selfish that movie is.
It's so selfish. It's like,
there's
who the fuck wrote this?
Weird, selfish point of view that I can't get behind.
It's such a weird.
I hate movies like that.
And so that's the thing. It just goes back to what we love and hate about movies. When you love a movie, and you know what? There's movies where you okay. How about this? Let me just kind of rewind a little bit here. How about a movie that you've really liked, but you can't watch it again?
Oh, I've got a bunch of those.
I got a lot of those.
God's sakes, Passion of Christ.
Yeah.
Had never seen it again.
$1 Million Baby.
Oh, I've watched it a couple times.
Can't watch it since the first time.
It's so heartbreaking.
It is.
It's so heartbreaking.
I can't watch Interstellar again.
There's you know what? It's better that you didn't because I saw it the second time and I didn't like it as much. You made a good choice on that one. It's not as good the second time.
But I would never be able to have that emotional reaction again.
That's why I've never seen a few movies twice.
I have never cried as much in a movie as I did Interstellar. I bawled several moments, several times in that movie where I was just like, oh.
There's the moment in $1 Million Baby. Each time I watch it, I get afraid of the moment because I can't get by it. Is she's already in the hospital, so her neck's already broken. And he's saying to her, Clint Eastwood says to her, you could take, we could go live in this cabin and you could take these classes. You would like that. Would you like that? And like the amount of caring and emotion in that scene from him to her is so strong. I can't get by the scene without choking up. Yeah. I can't. Like, that's even awesome. Just thinking about it, I start tearing up.
Right.
I mean, it's gorgeous. And then at the end when he mercy kills her, it's so realistic. Because that's what you would do, and it's such a natural progression of intent. And so many of Eastwood's films are like that, where he described film at one point. He said, when you get the perfect marriage of, you get all the elements in screen, the villain and the secondary characters and the hero, and you put them all in basically a collision course. And they all are going to come together at some point in the story. You don't know when, but it's all going to come together at some point, and that's your movie. And he's right, because if you watch $1 Million Baby, and especially Unforgiven.
I was about to say.
Unforgiven is a masterclass in filmmaking.
God.
I mean, it's so fucking good. I know I've seen Unforgiven at least 50 times. It came out when I was in the service in Germany.
90
or 91, one of the two. I don't think 90 because it wasn't. It might have been 90. I don't know. But I was in Germany, and we had the theater, the Army theater only showed so many movies, so they'd get the movie and they'd show it for like a month on end. Well, I went every week and I watched Unforgiven. I must have seen Unforgiven 8 times in the theater. And I can watch the last scene now and I still get all caught up in tense watching Unforgiven.
No kidding.
Oh, still. Like when he's out there, he's like, he shoots, he goes, who's Greeley? And he shoots the guy, and he's like, he was unarmed. And he goes, well, he should have armed himself. And he's going to decorate his store with my friend. But the way he says it, like, it's a cool line, but it's also so emotionally true because he's like, who's this guy think he is?
Right.
He's got my friend out in front of the door. Like, it's a cool Eastwood line, but it's also a very real line.
Very emotional.
Very emotional line. Like, who do you guys think you are?
Right.
Who do you guys think you fucking are? And I'm here to set the record straight. And it's a great movie.
It is.
It's a great movie.
It has so many moments like that, but like you said, it builds up to that.
Oh my God!
That runaway train aspect where all these elements keep coming at the same juncture, and then it finally hits that scene where he comes in that bar where he kills Greeley, and
every character's in that scene because the girls are on the stairwell,
right?
And the realization of what they've done comes down on them.
Yep.
Like they've set this whole thing into motion. And now this is the outcome.
Right.
And
the fact that he's drunk.
Yep.
And he's back to what he's doing.
Yes.
And you're like, for the first time in an hour and a half?
Right.
Or almost 2 hours at the end of the movie. In 2 hours, you get to see William Money.
Yes.
Doing what
this
William
is the
Money
man
did
we've heard
best.
about.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he's doing it for a good fucking reason.
That is why I love movies.
It's so fucking good.
It's that it's that progression of waiting to see something happen, and then when it finally hits, you're like, "Holy shit! That's what we've been waiting for the entire time."
And you didn't even know you're waiting for it.
Exactly.
Because there's a scene early in Unforgiven, you know what I'm talking about, where they're at the campfire, and William Money and Eastwood has this great dialogue where he's talking about he shot this guy and his teeth came out the back of his head or something like that, and Morgan Freeman doesn't say anything the whole scene, and he's and you can tell that Eastwood's told the story to him like 100 times. It's one of those scenes he's sick of hearing about it, and he goes, "Yep, you're one crazy son of a bitch." Well, and that's it. Like, it's such a perfect thing. He's kind of like, he's like, "Yep, you're one crazy fucker, man. You're one crazy fucker, man." Yeah. And then at the end, Morgan Freeman's vengeance comes from that character.
Right.
Oh, it's so fucking good.
Oh, man.
It works on so many layers.
Yeah.
Unforgiven's like reading a good book.
It is.
Yeah.
It's 1992, by the way.
What's that?
92.
92. Okay. Yeah, I was in Germany.
Yeah, I was. I don't think I appreciated it until I saw it the second time, where I really saw the power of that movie. Because that's when I would have been in college, and I saw it again. I was like, wow.
I remember I was going to see it, and the fog had come in real thick. I was living in Wiesbaden, Germany, and I got in my car. I was driving this, I thought it was 92. It was probably like an 87 or 88 BMW. Bad headlights and whatnot. I drove off post. I had to drive off post and back on post, and the fog was so thick you couldn't see anything.
John Carpenter movie right there.
Totally John Carpenter. I couldn't see signs, nothing, but I was like, I knew the roads enough where I was like, I can get there. In any other circumstance, I'd have gone home.
Right.
But I knew that in a week or two, we were going to lose Unforgiven. So I was going to see that damn movie.
Had to go see it.
It was probably like the 5th time I'd seen it.
That's awesome.
But
really?
I saw it like 8 times.
Oh my god, that's awesome.
I saw it in Darmstadt because when the movies came to the APXs, the military cinemas, they didn't show everything. They showed the major releases.
Right, of course.
So when they got a release, they played that release for probably a month.
Okay.
So I went and saw Unforgiven for a month.
That's awesome.
And it wasn't often that I did that.
Right.
But Unforgiven, oh my god, yeah.
Okay, so since we started talking about what makes us love movies, and I don't think we covered this, but what is your number one moment, first viewing of a movie? Like, what is that moment where you, like, maybe it's the earliest moment. What's the most significant moment in a theater where you that... I think you said something earlier where it was Jaws. Right. Where you realized what movies were doing for you.
That's a good question. That's a really good question. It'd definitely be Spielberg related. It was not Raiders of the Lost Ark because it's going to have to be Jaws.
Jaws? Go back to Jaws
again? Or it's going to be Jaws. It's going to have to be Jaws or Alien.
I didn't see it in the theater. I saw it way late.
Yeah, I was real young. Like, I mean, this kind of stuff hit me when I was pretty young.
Okay.
And
I didn't experience those movies when I was younger. Right? Star Wars, Indiana Jones.
Bagged. See, the story about me in movies and writing is that the way that I got into writing was that I was begging my father to go see these movies that were way outside my scope. When it was Alien, I was 8, and they were like, we can't take this kid to see Alien. It's terrifying. Because that was a truly terrifying film.
Yeah.
And so the story is my mother said to my dad, like, well, make him read the book because he can't finish the book. It's way beyond his reading level. Did I ever tell you this?
Wasn't it Jaws?
No, this is Alien.
Okay.
No, I never read, I didn't get through Jaws until a couple of years later.
Okay.
And so my dad got the book. At the time, they had the books on the rotating thing at the drugstore, like Montgomery Ward or whatever it was.
Right, Monkey Ward.
Montgomery Ward, yeah. And I read the book. And I'm not gonna go out and say that I understood the whole thing, but I read it. And at the time, the Alien novel had a lot of technical mumbo jumbo in it, and it was a real book, like Alan Dean Foster wrote. It was like a real novel. It was long. And after I finished it, I was like, okay, well, now we can go see the movie. And my dad was like, I think he was kind of perplexed that I actually finished it. And I don't know for a fact that he was. But reading novels taught me, and this continued when I wanted to go see a movie that was outside my scope, he'd be like, read the book. And I'd read the book. regardless of how hard it was, and I would go see the movie. Right. That was like my reward. And that taught me how to write. Like, it taught me how to balance two different narratives and, you know, how to move back and forth between narratives and so on. And so that's how I got that kind of knowledge in my head. And, but yeah, that was, I started to kind of, then I'd be in the movie and I'd see how those elements fit together.
Right.
And I'd start putting it together and be like, well, this is why this works, and this is why I like that, and this is why I definitely don't like this. And because there's movies where like, my mom would be like, hey, you want to go see this movie? I'd be like, I don't want to see that.
Really?
Like, I don't know who made that. And I got very into, in the 80s, we'd be looking at, there was no Internet Movie Database. There was nothing like that. It was totally off of just memory. Mm-hmm. And to skip ahead instead of boring you with this, is I remember when Die Hard was coming out.
Oh. And
they had a picture in it. It was called Die Hard Bruce Willis. And I'd seen Bruce Willis on, like, Moonlighting. You know, it wasn't really a show for me. It was, like, not in my age group at that point. And I was like, what's this? Like, this is kind of dumb. And I scanned down. I was like, who directed it? I was like, John McTiernan. John McTiernan made Predator last year. This movie's going to be awesome. And that connection to where, like, director and film and quality was built back then.
I had no concept of that.
I mean, I used to look at, I remember, like, if the movie's DP was, like, Vilmos Zsigmond, I'm mispronouncing his name. But he shot Apocalypse Now.
Yep.
But if his name was on a movie, like, I'd go see it.
Deer Hunter 2, right?
Yeah. You know, and so I made that connection very early on that where, like, the quality of a film was dependent upon who made it.
And that's the truth. I did not make that. I can't put a time on when I made that kind of, you know, comparison and like that generalization of it.
Yeah.
I can tell one moment for me that made me realize the scope of movies.
Right.
It was 4. Same as you with either Alien or Jaws.
Yeah.
Right. Well, Jaws came out in 77 and 75 actually.
75. I was 4.
Okay. And then Alien came out in 79.
I was a little older, but still terrified.
Right. Empire Strikes Back. I don't remember much of the movie except Han Solo having a lightsaber, but I remember the experience of waiting in line around the theater to get inside Showcase Sterling Heights, and then getting inside the theater and having Darth Vader running up and down the aisle, and the movie starting and everyone cheering, and when, you know, those little things, I was like, whoa. It was like electrifying.
Yeah, and you know what I miss? I miss a lot. This is why I hate going to that theater that you and your friends go to over there.
The Imagine
is like I grew up in like just like you're talking about, like where, and movies were different then too. Like they had ups and downs and valleys and peaks and laughs, and the whole audience would laugh and they'd laugh and you were all laughing, or you were all scared and everyone was scared, or you were all tense and everybody was tense. And it was a real experience, and there was a real connection with the audience, and you got temperature would rise and temperatures would fall. And now, when you sit in these giant seats, reclining, you don't get that communal experience
with
anymore.
About half the people in the theater, because
like when we saw
seats.
when we saw Force Awakens, and there was a funny scene, like I would laugh. But it's almost like, am I the only person laughing?
Right, but you have to look over and then like across.
I'm like, is Jason enjoying this?
Yeah.
Like, where is Jason?
Yeah, it's exactly right. And I don't like that either. I don't mind waiting in line. I like the reclining. I don't want to recline backwards. I don't mind my feet coming up, but I don't want to get too comfortable. I don't want to fall asleep.
Right.
I don't want to be like lounging. Right. I don't lounge in my house watching movies until I'm ready to go to sleep.
Exactly.
I sit up. I might have my legs out. But I want to be engrossed in that movie and engaged. Yeah,
and I want a full theater, and I want that
camaraderie, the reactions that's what I think when you say like what makes you love movies. It's being in a theater, and being around like-minded people, where just having that experience together. It's just amazing.
When we saw, I hate to keep, it's just recent. We saw Batman vs Superman
again,
and we're sitting next to each other.
Yep.
In a real theater,
right?
And the scene where Alfred was talking to Batman through the earpiece, and Clark Kent heard it,
and
we were both. He was like, "That's awesome!" Like
I could elbow you without leaning over.
Like I love the fact that you and I both shared the exact same emotion at the exact same time. Like,
right?
It's fucking great.
Okay, so there's a couple different movie theaters we go to, and typically, if you're with the right people, you want to sit next to them.
Yes.
Because of that.
Right.
But there's theaters that we go to, like we were talking about in Macomb,
Yeah.
where it doesn't matter who you're sitting next to.
You're so far away.
Because you can't fucking communicate that way.
But you might as well be alone.
Right. I have to
well
stick my arm out and physically grab you to get your attention because you're so far away.
I mean, the only advantage to going with a group is afterwards.
Yes.
You talk about it.
We
But
talk
during
about
the movie, in order to get your attention, I have to be reaching across, hey Jay,
right?
That was really funny.
What did you think? It's not the same.
It's not.
So I think that's what really got when I said Empire Strikes Back. It was it was the environment. It was the emotional reaction we got to the movie, even though it was only 4, or maybe it was a re-release. Maybe I was 5. I'm not sure when I saw that, but I remember being around for it. I remember a lot of the moments there. So it's really just about, for me, it's just the whole overall reaction. It's not just being entertained and having 2 hours sucked away from my life. I can do that here.
Right.
And I can do that in quiet here if I want to.
Sure, yeah.
But I want to have a reaction. I want to be drawn in. I want to feel. Not necessarily like my wife always says, I don't like to feel, but I do want to feel. It just
I
want to react to a character's miscomings or errors or failures. I want to see him overcome that.
I mean, why does entertainment and cinema and film endure? We want to feel these things. We want to feel emotions, and there's emotions you can experience in a movie that you can't outlay at home. How many people can't go home and talk to anybody in their house? It's probably an alarming number of people.
It is.
But you can go to a movie and cry and laugh and enjoy yourself and feel things you can't feel in your normal day-to-day life.
And you want to be Indiana Jones. You want to be James Bond. You want to be
you want to find
Hicks.
You want to find love. You want to triumph in the face of death. You want to be the person who helps the disadvantaged. You want to start a school for the blind. You want to be that person.
Yeah.
You want to be the one who sees a guy on the side of the road hey, come home with us.
Right.
You want to be able to do those things.
Under unsurmountable
absolutely.
problems coming at you.
Absolutely.
Because nothing should ever... And that's one thing when you see a movie, if it's a cakewalk and there's no real opposition, fucking cares.
You don't care.
That's why a good villain makes such a big... That's why we talked about Marvel, and I don't think we really talked about this part of Marvel was... Did we talk about villains in Marvel? Because
how horrible they are?
Yeah, because there's no one except for Loki, which is he's a pretty good...
Yeah, they got a real problem with it.
But they don't know how to do a villain, so it's how can you care about what the character's doing if you don't care who they're up against?
Which is exactly why Winter Soldier succeeds the way that it does. Because you take the villain,
you make him
a very clear villain, and then build the association with who he is and reverse it in such an amazing way. And at the end, when Captain America can defeat him. He can defeat him and win the day, but he can't.
But even
emotionally,
more so than that.
Physically he can beat him. Emotionally he can't.
Right. You build that up right where you have a clear villain. And all of a sudden, you switch him to his best friend. He's now he's got that conflict.
Right.
But then you switch it even more so, and now the villain is someone who was your ally.
Right. Yeah.
Shield. And now it grows exponentially.
Everything that guy knows, and I say guy, Captain America. Everything the hero knows in that movie gets turned on its head.
Oh, that's what's so great about it.
He enters the movie and leaves as an entirely different guy.
Right. He has some doubts at first.
Yeah,
he's a little questionable.
Yeah, a little
bit.
But
then he's still
doing his job. He's being a soldier.
Right. But then the whole Bucky thing, the whole Shield thing, the whole having to defeat, it just has so much power.
It does.
So much emotion.
Yeah.
And that's why I know it's not a girl movie; it's more of a guy movie. But there's emotion.
It's a very guy-centric film.
Yeah, sure. It's about best
friends.
Because
it's about a guy who's wants to do the right thing, and he says early in the movie, he's like, "This is all I know how to do." And then at the end of the movie, that all gets challenged.
If Scarlett Johansson and Chris Evans had a relationship in the movie, girls might like it.
Right.
There's no romantic.
That's the easy way out.
Right. There's no romantic element
there. That's the easy way out.
We talk about what we love about movies, and everyone has a different point of view. Some people are escapism. Some people want story. And I want something that I want to take home with me. I want something that I want to wake up with. I want to go to sleep with. I want to think about that moment where if it keeps me up at night, just thinking about that scene where it just shocked me, or I was just like, not just like scarred me, but like really was like, wow, what a. I can't believe that moment. I can't believe what happened there. I can't believe this. That's what really. I want a reaction.
Like I want to be. There's two things that more than this, but there's two things that I want. I want to be challenged, and I want to be moved emotionally. And I remember very clearly when Return of the Jedi came out, and I had just seen, me and my dad had gone to see Blue Thunder a couple days prior.
Blue Thunder.
And I loved Blue Thunder.
That's funny.
And I don't know if it was my age.
That's your age.
If I was a little sick. I don't know what it was. But me and my father and my sister went to see it, and it was packed. Because in those days, a big movie was packed for weeks on end. Mm-hmm. And we were at the Showcase Cinema in Pontiac, at their biggest cinema. We sat 3/4 of the way towards the back. And people were laughing and excited, and I was so not into it. And I remember very clearly sitting there thinking, I wish I could be enjoying this more. I didn't dislike
Jedi.
Return of the Jedi. I didn't it wasn't that I had like anything against the movie. I wasn't enjoying it, and it was falling flat for me. But I remember because the audience was so into it, I was like, I wish I was in the same level of enjoyment right now. Like when he tossed the Emperor into the pit, and the audience almost stood up like at a rock concert.
Oh, that's awesome.
But I was just kind of like, man, I give a shit.
So you were how old?
That was 83, so I would have been 12.
So I think in it, and I know you also had an advanced idea of movie. Much more than I did at that point.
It was not good filmmaking,
no,
which I recognized off the bat.
And I know now.
I recognized that.
But I was 7. So totally,
there was a lot of point and shoot filmmaking going on.
And I didn't. I recognize it for a totally different experience than you did because of the 5-year difference.
Yeah, and
you're 12. I'm 7.
I mean, I beat the crap out of my Empire Strikes Back VHS tape. Mm-hmm. The level of craft on display in Empire is enormous.
Oh, God.
Kirshner's on fire.
Yeah.
And then you get to Return of the Jedi, and it's like establishing shot, 2 shot, establishing
not a lot
shot.
of energy. And
no, and it's
one shot of Jabba's palace, it's like goes downhill.
Yeah,
and there's some fun moments in there throughout,
it's
but
just not a very well made movie. Yeah, it's not.
So in closing, movies can mean a lot of things, and why we like movies can be different for every. I think it's really just based upon the experience.
It's
like
the experience. Yeah.
I've seen comedies where I wish I would have saw with somebody.
Yep.
Because I know in comedies you had to see with somebody. You can't be by yourself. It just
Nacho
doesn't
Libre.
work. Okay. Talladega Nights.
Same thing. Yeah.
I didn't like the movie. I would have probably if I would have saw Walking Hard by myself the first time, I would have hated it.
Right.
I saw it with Bob and Tina. Laughed my ass off.
I saw the other guys. I was on vacation from Iraq, and I went and saw the other guys in Austin at one of those cinemas with the big reclining seats.
By yourself?
By myself. And I was like, I mean, I laughed, but I recognized that it wasn't very good.
Right.
But I watch it with, friends now, and it's like, oh, other guys is hilarious. I mean, it's funny.
Okay.
It's funny.
It's about your experience. It's about who you're with sometimes.
Yeah.
It's about maybe their mindset. But I think it just has to do with the emotional connection.
But I'll tell you what, I can sit down and watch Raiders Lost Ark by myself and have just as much fun.
Then that's the sign of a good movie, though, is if you can watch it with people, without people, and you're still good.
But you know what one of my favorite Raiders Lost Ark viewings was?
Ooh.
Is when it came out on Blu-ray, and you bought it.
Yes.
And were you living in Madison Heights then?
The Troy House. You're talking about when it came out on VHS, the DVD for the first time?
The
yeah.
Blu-ray DVD.
Yeah.
You were living in Madison Heights, right?
Well, when it first came out on DVD, I was in Royal Oak.
Okay.
A little smaller house.
Yes. We sat on your couch and watched it.
It looked great.
It looked amazing.
Yeah.
It looked amazing. That was one of my favorite experiences.
Yeah, because it was crisp.
It looked
was
great.
Clear.
You had a nice little sound system going on.
Right.
There.
Yeah. So that was a very good experience.
And I hadn't seen it in a while.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah.
That was good.
And that's the funny thing about where we came from, time frame wise, is we watched movies in the theater. You either came back to go see them back and forth, because you wouldn't get to see it again.
Yeah. Right.
For not 6 months.
No.
Could be years down the road before you saw it, unless you saw it on cable, so like HBO. Like, I didn't see Star Wars. Star Wars wasn't on VHS until I was in high school.
Like, I think it's a huge mistake too. I realize everything's money motivated. I get it. It's a business, and I understand why they make these decisions. But I think it's a mistake to let people know that, okay, if you don't catch it now,
It's coming out.
It'll be on DVD, or at home video.
Most people want to watch it at home anyways now because they don't want to deal with crowds or the people or the phones or the texting or the kids and the prices, right?
It's too bad because some people would argue that people don't like leaving their house anymore, but I don't think that's true because the malls are full and the restaurants are all full and people do like going to the movies. Did you know that the most consistent demographic for film going is over 50?
Really?
Because they grew up doing it.
Yeah.
They grew up
80s,
with it.
70s,
Yeah,
60s, yeah.
They grew up with
absolutely, yeah. There's nothing better. I've experienced people tell me back in 1999 before Phantom Menace came out, I had a guy who was a Star Wars fan, proclaimed Star Wars fan, who said he would not go see it in the theater, he would wait for it to come out on video. Video. Not even DVD yet.
Not even DVD, yeah.
And I was like, the fuck is wrong with you, dude? Why would you wait for why?
Well, you know who the hardest segment to get in the theaters now is by demographic?
Teenagers?
Video gamers.
Yeah.
They can't get video gamers to go to the movies.
Yeah, it's just it had to be video game centric, fast.
Yeah, but they're doing it all day. They don't need to go to the movies.
Yeah, exactly.
That's how they see it anyway.
And I played video games when I was younger and not too long ago, but nothing beats that experience. You might get a great experience at home watching a movie by yourself or with other people, but you have the theater experience for me, and that's what I love it. It's just the emotional reaction, the reaction from the crowd. We were watching. I don't think you were with us. We were watching. No, it was the first time I saw Age of Ultron, and the trailer for Star Wars came on for Force Awakens, and the crowd cheered and clapped, and I was like, "Holy crap! I haven't heard that in a long time."
Yeah, right.
The excitement level for a trailer, no less. Right?
Yep.
I remember watching one of the screenings of Star Wars: A New Hope on the big screen, and when Darth Vader came on for the first scene, people cheered.
Dude,
I was like, wow.
Star Wars is something else, man. Star Wars crosses generations.
Yeah, it just has such a broad, the love of that. I mean, it's palpable, man. People love it.
You can't recreate that.
You can't.
Again, you can't. I mean, it's kind of like, talk about experiences. That night we watched Shogun Cop. What's it called?
Samurai Cop.
Yeah. I can't watch Samurai Cop by myself.
No, that's not made for that.
But
no,
when
you gotta get drunk and high and watch it.
You and I watching it is hilarious.
Oh, yeah. But that's the whole thing. Is you have to watch it with the right crowd sometimes or person. You have to write in the right environment. But that's the thing. I think it doesn't have to be in the theater, but it's the reaction you get.
It's the people. I mean, you create friends over films.
Absolutely.
If you can strike up a conversation with somebody you don't know.
Yeah.
And that's what I like to do in meetings a lot of times is I'll have meetings with these government types and they're usually pretty dry. And I'll try throwing in some film references. Like I always do this. I almost always do this. If a lot of people are meeting at one time and it's like, hi, my name's Craig and this is John and this is
Doctor.
And I start doing doctor. And whoever gets it, I know that I can talk to that. I can talk to that guy. I can talk to that guy.
At work, we have a wheel this month for new sales, and if you get over a certain number, you get a spin on the wheel.
Right. Yeah.
So every time someone gets it, I go, "Break the deal, face the wheel." No one gets it.
I remember
10 people in my office. No one knows that quote.
That's terrible. I was in this meeting last year with the Navy for this surveillance project. And it was a real dry meeting, and something about a box came up. And I started going, "What's in the box? What's in the box?" And this dude who was like the picture perfect of Cold Stone toughness started laughing, but he was trying not to laugh. And I'm like, "You know what I'm talking about?" And he's like,
"Yeah."
And afterwards we started talking about Seven.
That's awesome.
And,
movies transcend, man.
They do, man.
I don't know if we actually answered the question that we brought up.
I think we have.
But I think it's subjective,
have,
right?
It's totally subjective.
But it's just, there's an experience. I think it's the experience. I think the answer is the experience, man. What you get out of it. Everyone gets something different.
Guys watch movies to pretend that they're James Bond.
Right.
And girls watch movies to find lost love and the love renewed.
They have the emotions and
how many girls
stuff,
sit around, with, and this is not a knock, I'm talking totally positive, they'll put in Sleepless in Seattle.
Yeah.
For sure. It's comfort food.
Tina watches Notebook, Pride and Prejudice, and Big Fat Greek Wedding, which I know you love, and and one more movie, constantly. Like it's like they're always on.
Yeah, right.
Sweet Home Alabama.
Oh, right.
They're always on TV, or she has them on the DVD player, right? And it's just like there's those things.
It's an emotional connection.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's like music. Like,
by the way, Pride and Prejudice is shot very good. It's a very cinematically beautiful movie. It's not a bad movie. Keira Knightley.
Isn't that the dude who made Hannah?
Yes.
Isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I forgot his name. Same guy.
Yeah.
Very beautiful movie.
He's got a real sharp eye.
His shot compositions, his movements, his transitions. I can watch it for that. And while Tina's watching it for all the... I can...
You can enjoy the craft. You can enjoy the craft while she's doing that. That's
Craig,
awesome.
I think we have rattled on enough about...
I think you are right.
Everything tonight.
Absolutely, man.
So in the future, we want to go to the Jay and Craig, the Jay and Craig podcast.
So as always, folks, if you disagree or agree with whatever we got going on here, want to make a statement, want to make a question, want to pose a topic, want something that Jay and I could talk about,
please
go to the thejaycraig.com.
As long as you have 2 hours, because that seems to be our limit here. Is we're always going 2 hours.
Yeah. We love talking, and I hope you like listening.
Peace out, y'all.
Later.